Okay, so as you can see, I've been kind of on a bag kick here lately, and basically just trying to restock the store with them. So we went from this, which was more of the traditional starts, to this, which was bringing it down this way. So my thought was I would make this kind of come in from both sides, right? But what I hadn't taken into account was what happens over here. Now, to see how we got to there, well, that's easy. I have it in here. Okay, so now we have the two pieces, and you can see it's basically we have them going the same direction, but they can't be joined like this, right? Because there's no material. You could have one knot to hold it. That's not going to work when we're trying to fashion this bag, right? So what do? We do this. We move this over to the other side, and that way these will all come across, and essentially you're going to end up with this string hanging off the end here, this one here, and that will create the diamond here. And once we have the diamond here, we will be able to attach it to another one that looks just like this, and what we'll get is then we will have these pieces running next to each other, and that's how the bag will look. You'll have three pieces of this. So joining these is not really any different than joining any other bag. It's about putting the two pieces together as close as possible, tying the knot nice and tight. Of course, that's important. Because yeah, if you don't start it out right, it's not going to turn out right. That's just a thing. Let's see, what else can I tell you about this? The randomizer thing definitely works easier than the dice. I suppose you could actually do it if let's say you only have your phone. I know a bunch of you tell me that, you don't have a computer, so you can't use GIMP and you can't use some of the other tools that I have. So alternatively, you could use it on your phone and then write down the series of numbers for as many as you think you need. I honestly, I go as far as I can. Like my eyes, I'm not really good at like following the numbers straight across. So I'll, kind of go as far as I can, and then I'll just refresh the page because it's just easier than trying to figure it out or whatever, especially if I'm trying to shoot the videos. It's if I'm not shooting the videos, then I can actually use the mouse to like highlight where I left off at. But you guys make it more difficult on me. That, and I think that because of shooting these videos and or because I've been making so many of these things, I think I put my shoulder out in some kind of way. My left shoulder is in a lot of pain. But tomorrow I'll go to a doctor and see what we can do about that. All right, so basically get it down to the diamond. Just take it to where the point comes to the bottom, and from there you do the next set and you anchor those two sets together. And basically that's the same. Joining these two is not really that much different than joining the two small ones. So yeah, there you have that. Yeah, this is really, like, if you've been following along with my stuff, this isn't all that terribly difficult, right? I mean, this is what I do, and I really believe that any of you guys can do this as well. If, say, a pattern like this, because it has a knot that goes to the left and then to the right, if that's a little complicated, make the bag out of something you can do. Make chevrons, make a candy stripe bag. If you do candy stripes, I gotta say though, the problem will be is everything, let's say you're candy striping to the right, all the strings that are going to the right are going to end up being used, and all the strings that were going to the left will not get used, and as a result, you'll use up the ones to the right a whole lot faster, basically. So try to allow for something to change in there, or when you set it up, just make sure that you have put the longer ones to do the right thing. I mean, that's kind of a pun, isn't it? All right. Anyways, but that's all I can say about that. It's these things are not that difficult. You guys can probably make one. You just have to be prepared. It's a lot of string. It's a lot of time. And it's a big commitment, and things can go wrong. I mean, I've been doing bags for 5 or 6 years now. And, this one didn't go as planned. That's okay, because I've developed some new skills and got new ideas, and I'm definitely thinking this, the way this thing started, this is something that I could definitely use in a different sort of way. You know, like if you wanted to have like a portion open up more or whatever, this has definitely got some potential. Or if I was a really big bag and I made that slit down the sides really, really big, I could get a bit of fabric sewn in there, which again makes it so that way you could have it like open up really super wide and then nothing can fall out. That would be awesome. I could totally see that. Let's see. Yeah, so 96 strands. I'm not sure. I got a calculator around here, like how many actual skeins that is. But let's see. $96 divided by 3. Yeah, so by right, if you weren't worried about like having the colors repeat themselves 3 times, you could do the bag portion itself with 32 skeins, and you need probably another 4 more to do the strap. So, but for this, I was really kind of going through everything that was left and trying to just absolutely fill it with as many colors as possible. Here you can see now it's gone from just 2 parts to now having 3 parts, right? Not a huge difference. I did, however, check it against the size of the green one, and because I came down so far in those little openings, I can't take it as far down as to bring these all down to the point at the very end. Otherwise the bag would have really been long and my strings might have been too short to have actually completed the base. So yeah, I kind of bring down 5 down to that bottom point, and then start to make the diamonds. And in this case, because there's 96, I made the diamonds of 6 strands by 6 strands. So that's how that one turned out. Because yeah, I couldn't do it the same as the green bag. The green bag had 100 strings. That's why that one could be done in 5s. So slight variation. Yeah, still works out. You just have to kind of figure. I mean, I could have, 96 I think divides by 4, so I could have just brought down 4 big panels and basically knotted those together if I wanted to take an easier way. Again, I'm trying to get this spiral effect down to something awesome. So definitely getting there. Definitely. Trying to think if there was any questions presented. You guys have come up with some ideas, like things to make, like beer cozies and stuff. I really don't drink beer, so not much of a need for that. But I definitely have some other projects on the horizon besides just these bags. I'm just trying to use up some of the string before I get more new string. So don't want to have my cases that are filled with thirds just to be filled with stuff I didn't use. So you can see there to the right, you can see that was the 6 strands. And now I'll bring down 6 rows, and that will be the little indentation there. And then I'll bring down 6 more, that leaving the 6 at the bottom, and you end up with a zigzag, which as many times as I count it, I still get worried as I get towards the end of the whole project. Like, is it there? Is it right? And yes, they have been right as of late. So yay me. Let's see. There you can see what it looks like when I had the little diamonds and whatever set up. That worked out pretty good. And then after that, obviously, you have to join it together to make a tube out of it. And yep, still using that same plastic bit, even though it's just a little bit smaller than the 100, it still sort of fits around there. And this is, again, just like the other previous bags. There's no big epiphanies here, still same old thing. Again, really the only epiphany was, hey, if you put, if you come down 16 rows, that's going to leave quite the gap at the top. So, let's see. Oh, rather than trying to bring down the rows all the way down to the bottom, which would have involved having to keep like turning it on that bit of plastic that I run through the middle. I only brought the rows down, I don't know if that's 10 or 12 knots or so. And that way I could turn it after I, basically got it joined really well. You don't want to just try to shift it around when there's only 2 rows or anything. You could get the whole thing bent out of shape. So that's something to avoid. I may have mentioned it before in the previous videos, but it bears mentioning again. Let's see, what else? Again, the random thing really helped out, I think, a lot, because without it, I think it'd be real easy to try to pretend to be random, and that didn't work out so good. Like, because who thinks of, having 3, 3, 3, 6, it just, but it happens, and it makes it interesting. It makes, like, if you just were sitting with this thing and you were bored or whatever, like, take a look at the numbers. It's fun. It's just weird how some numbers seem to come up more than others, or if you get like 3 7s in a row or something, it's just interesting to me. I don't know. Maybe I've just been doing bracelets so long that random just seems like something exotic. That's a possibility. Let's see. Oh, the kumi for the strap. Those actually also used the 1/3 lengths, and in order to make that work, use the bobbins. I did a different tutorial on it, but I can tell you, using the hole in the base of the bobbin, and if you put the string through it, it will keep it from just randomly rolling out. So that way you can make really, really long kumis. And mind you, fortunately my wife does those, because I really just don't have the patience for them. I really don't. Plus, I think they kind of wear out my shoulder probably more than just doing the knots. It's just a different motion that my body's not used to. So, yep, you can see the little V's things down there forming again. So this is like the 5th run. I'm trying to keep the times down on these videos by using these time lapse, but it still seems like even like trying to reduce the time seems like I'm still getting like around a half hour every time. So if you want shorter videos, say something. If you're happy with these nice long videos, give me a comment. Let me know. I really appreciate like a little feedback on these things, because if we could skip the things I've already done, that'd be quick. So, okay, so here I have it set up where I have my easel again turned around backwards, and you can kind of see the clamp that I'm using. And yeah, this time I have it attached to leather, so that way I'm not gouging up my board any longer. And you can see there I took a paper cup with a cutout of the base, so I could run the strings through that. It helps it to hold the shape. And you can see that I'm dropping strings without having actually tied anything to it. Like I put put on the first row with the little marking loops again by using waste. This time I used yellow and orange because those were not in the bag itself. There's some rusts and some other colors, but not as bright as that orange and nothing like that yellow. So they worked out as pretty good little markers there. And yeah, I attach it to the very first one, and I tie that knot to the other 6 going across. And then the next thing I do is I take that next string down, pull it through, so then the row below that comes up, and then I pull another one through, and then the row after that comes up. So yeah, just a different approach as to how to drop the string than I was previously doing, and that worked out pretty cool. Mind you, there was enough steps in there, and you'll see this here in a bit, that as I was doing this, it kind of threw me, and I end up having to take out a knot each time around. You'll see that here in a minute. But this method worked out pretty cool. I think I can improve upon it, and I'll try it next time. But it worked out pretty good because I was dropping those two so close to each other. On the inside, I can tie those two off, so I don't have to worry about them fraying or coming undone. So that was pretty clever, I think, and it definitely added to how the look of when it starts to come into that space or into that spiral, how a color just sorts of drops off and the ones around it tighten in. I think that worked out pretty good. So yeah, at some point, like I think it was basically once I make the whole round, get around to the other side, that's when I started to notice that it wasn't pulling in as much as some of the ones in the past. So I think it was there when I kind of came to the conclusion, like, hey, I need to drop strings just a little bit faster. Otherwise, I'll end up with a cone shape. And that may very well be where the roundness of the base comes from. Kind of hard to say. I mean, it's kind of an art as opposed to knowing exactly what I'm doing. So yeah, you can see the yellows come back around, so this is the last one. In case you haven't seen these videos before, that tool that I'm using to pull the string through is actually a tool you can get them at a sewing stores. It's made for pulling the elastic into a hoodie or into a waistline or something. It's kind of like got a safety pin at one end and a plastic nub or a ball kind of thing at the other end of it. So super handy. Definitely getting my money's worth of that thing. So at this point you can see, yeah, I had to count it out. So I wanted to be able to take off, make it 4 strings and then tie across them so that way it is if it was 2. And then pull those 2 through. So, and it worked on the first one, on the yellow one, but after that I had to start removing a knot each time because otherwise it didn't. And yeah, gonna live and learn, right? But, and I mention all this because kind of if you're following along at home, and you might want to try to like follow how I did this. You might be like trying to like zoom in or like see what the knots were. Yeah. So the top row, I guess I didn't take it all the way across, and that's why there's the 2 strings there. And then it's the next row down that I figure if I left that off like as 2, I would be able to make it so that way I was reducing down and dropping 2 strings at the same time. Again, allows me to tie them to each other on the inside, so that works out really well. Yeah, and at this point, it's, again, this is just a feel, but it definitely felt like it was starting to take the shape that it was supposed to. Like the first round was like definitely not pulling in enough, and at this point it was starting to maybe pull in just the right amount. And after that, then I increased the way I was dropping them, and that's when it kind of comes to that nice curvature at the bottom. So hopefully you're following along. Hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully it's inspiring you to actually try this for yourself, because that would be neat. I kind of look forward to seeing some people do these for themselves. So I think it's fair to say that it's the first one, the third one, and let's see, I'm actually looking at it here, and after it's all put together, it's really hard to tell. Maybe the 5th one that come around the most, and then the first one stays with it kind of the longest, and then the second longest one I think is the 5th one. So yeah, the third one kind of gets squeezed out, but not right away. So yeah, it's one of those things where, like, honestly, if you buy this bag and you sat and you watch this for a duration, you'd be like, wow, that's cool. Because when you're looking at it and you try to like figure out like where did that row go to, it just happily goes along until it doesn't. And I think it's fascinating. Okay, so at this point you can definitely see it was taking shape. Everything's kind of pulling in. The hole in the center keeps getting a little bit smaller. When I got down where it got really small, really that little nub on the tool that pulls through really lets you know when it gets to where that doesn't fit through properly anymore. Yeah, that's it. It's time to pull the last of the strings through. There might be 20 of them at that point, but that's fine, because when you kind of twist them and then tie a big knot out of it, and when you do that, and you look back from the outside, you really can't tell. It doesn't look like there is a whole big, mess where the ending is. It just looks like it just came to an end. So it's kind of the best advice I can kind of give you on that. I mean, I don't know an alternative way. Maybe somebody will find one at some point, but for now, I think it turns out kind of perfect. So at this point, that hole is probably 2 millimeters. Kind of trying to judge by the measuring stick that's on the side of my clipboard there. But yeah, it's getting smaller every time. I think one of the things I do like about this kind of idea of a project is that if you guys want to copy, if you guys wanted to make one, you can't exactly copy it. There is too much individuality in the whole random thing that, yeah, good luck with that. So here you see it. It's down to very little left, and bring it in tighter still. And yeah, at this point, it kind of got to the point where like it's you do 2 knots and one's coming out, and do 2 knots, and it gets a little bit more tedious, but it goes faster, which is good, because otherwise, who would want to do this, right? But yeah, you can see I can kind of do a couple of the sets without having to like rotate it as often. That was sort of helpful. And you can see the shape is definitely a good curve. I mean, I guess at this angle you can't tell it. It kind of looks conish, but it really is. It's a good curve to it. And there it is. Pull the last of the strings through. Oh, so at this point, you see how I left the strings off as one group? What I did was I did that, and then I turned the whole thing inside out, so that way that particular group was what I used to tie that knot. Because inside is all those strings. All 96 of them are inside there. And you only need that 20 or so to tie off. So that's kind of a thing. And yeah, and then these little things, just snip one of the sides, give it a tug, and there they go. They come right out. Easy as can be. Yeah, no, I think this was a fun project. This is something that I suspect I'll probably do another one, you know, out of the earth tones. I kind of like how that turned out, the color-wise and whatever, but as far as doing the top like that, yeah, I don't know. All right, so, oh, here we have the strap. My wife had gotten ahead of me on the whole project and had this thing ready, so just putting it through the loops. Mind you, what you can't see in this picture is that the bag looks like all nice and shaped or whatever. That's because it's completely full of all the other strings. I only cut out at this point the 20 or so that were in that one big knot. Everything else just kind of got crammed in here for the moment. So yeah, I didn't get a chance to kind of push it around or shape it up or anything. But yeah, then what I do here is I'm going to tie the two ends of the strap together. And I try to do that knot. I don't know what this knot is actually called, but I try to do it as nice looking as possible. You know, it's nothing too fancy. I mean, everybody's just taking two ropes by their side and put them through. I just try to make it so that way when it happens, it's that they both run alongside of each other really well. So, to me, that's a good looking knot. It does what it's supposed to do. And it'll definitely stay there on the bag till basically somebody either cuts it off or unties it. So, alright. So, hopefully you guys are inspired by this. And ready to make one. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, for me, I think that it's turned out really well. It's a little bit more shallow, despite the fact that it's actually slightly longer than the other bags because of how far this notch comes down. But that said, I don't know, it still turned out pretty cool. I like the way it closes up. That's sort of fun. And the base. You have to, I don't know if I can get it stretched out enough there, but it's got a really nice round base to it. Now, I've tried to do this before, and I've either ended up where it was really cone shape or super, super flat. But this is the first time that it's gotten, I don't know if you can really see that, how round it is. But yeah, I really like how that turned out. So I'm definitely going to do that again. I'd like to use this type of how big the flap is on a much larger bag because it would make it really easy to get to the small bits down in the bottom. I think that would be really cool. Not sure how this would work out. I mean, obviously for somebody this is going to be like the perfect thing. Personally, I think the next one I'll instead of coming down the whole 16, I'll just come down 8, so it's more like this. Like originally, like I envisioned these things coming off this way, and that's how I kind of drew it out on my whiteboard, was that it would be these two edges off to the side, and obviously that didn't go as I thought, and changed things. And but overall I did learn a lot. So it didn't go as planned, but the beauty is I learned a few things, and I kind of like it's a bit more of a spiral to the base, and I think that's really enjoyable. And like I said, it's got a nice curvature to it, so I think I might actually try a variation on this for my next one as well. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, obviously you've come this far. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, and leave a comment down below, and I guess I'll just see you in the next video. So till next time, don't get your strings in a bunch.